And with that, I'd like to welcome Susan Sharkey. Susan is with the National Endowment for Financial Education and is, as I said, a seasoned presenter with us before. So Susan, are you there?
I am here. Good morning or good afternoon.
Yes, I guess you're close. So Susan is joining us from Colorado, where NEFI is headquartered. And Susan, I'm sending things over to you, and I am seeing your screen. Wonderful. Thank you. They are all yours.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to show you at least 4 resources that are fairly new, and I hope that any of these would be useful for you for your personal use, as well as perhaps use with your students. These work best with your juniors or seniors, but I would also encourage you to share these resources with the parents. Anytime we can actively engage parents in the financial education aspect, it just adds some value and also helps reinforce what we're teaching them in the classroom. So a resource that we have available right now that we've been working on for the past 18 months is called our Smart About Money site. And you should be able to see the URL. It's smartaboutmoney.org. This is open sourced, non-commercial, and no advertising at all. We also don't collect personal information, especially any information that is shared with others. The National Endowment for Financial Education is completely independent, self-funded, and we provide all of these tools for you to use at no cost, and we encourage you to share these with others. The 3 aspects I'd like to show you on Smart About Money are the online tutorials that you might want to use with your students or for your own use. We also have tutorials, how-to tutorials, and then some special tools. So let me walk you through the site. This is the live site, and we have courses set up for different decisions. And what you'll see here are examples of these courses that we have up here right now. The intention here is to guide the reader through the decision-making process and the planning process, while also learning a little bit about the topic. We've tried to set this up for that person who perhaps is going to enter into a decision, feels a little uncomfortable, needs a little confidence boost. It might be the person who is wondering if they're on the right track. I don't want to say they're in crisis, but maybe they don't feel comfortable about their situation. So we want to gently nudge them through the process. An example here is setting up their financial plan. And each of the lessons, these particular activities guides people through 3 layers. First, we ask people to reflect on where they're at. How are you feeling? Are you comfortable with your situation? Are you nervous? Are you stressed out? It depends on the scenario. In this case, with the emergency fund, we ask people to think about whether they could handle a disruption in their expenses, either now or later. For the transportation plan, we might ask if they have any intentions of purchasing a new vehicle or acquiring a new vehicle, or do they have money set aside if their car breaks down. So that's the first layer. What is going on in your life? The second layer then is walking the reader through a series of questions or showing them best practices on what they might consider. For example, transportation. What is the average cost that people spend on transportation? What might be a recommended maximum that we expend towards our transportation? But while they're learning some of these best practices or checkpoints or checklists, they're also looking at their own habits. And then the final phase is we try to help them use whatever they have collected, what they needed, and devise some kind of a plan for moving forward. We want them to have take baby steps. What are some immediate steps they could take that lead towards a long-term plan? Again, looking at the transportation plan, are they building up a credit history that will help them get a a fair rate for a loan? Do they have enough for down payment? Have they considered their total cost if they're going to get a new car? Do they have an idea if they would rather lease, buy a new car, buy a used car? So they're making a plan. But I wanted to share that with you, and I'll just walk you into one of the lessons, and I encourage you to go through one of these on your own. So one of our courses is called Financial Wellbeing, and initially we thought we'd call this wealth building, but this is far beyond that. What we're having people do, I mentioned earlier, is think about their scenario, and the first screen shows you all the topics that anyone can consider. So you do not have to start at the beginning. You can start wherever you want, but as I said, the first thing we are trying to do is help them look at their situation. What is important to them? What is your credit score? How much do you have set aside right now? What does your future look like? And then you can see some of these other topics here about analyzing their circumstances, thinking about how they might grow their money. Have they protected their money? So you can see this topic covers a whole host of pieces, and this would be relevant for any age group because the responses within the class or within the tutorial here are very personalized. And then we wrap with that third step that I mentioned, making a plan. What is your game plan based on what you reflected on, based on what you've learned? What might be some steps you take to move forward? Again, asking them to think short-term and long-term. So I'll just give you an idea of what some of these will look like. You can see here we have questions that can be answered. We have worksheets that someone might want to save later. I'm just pointing here in the upper right if someone wants to save their answers. We reference some other key tools. In this case, CFPB has put together a financial well-being scale. Might be of interest to people. Again, they can opt in, opt out based on where they're at. We have several surveys in here. We do not, I just want to clarify, we don't collect on the back end your personal information. This is more an interaction for yourself to submit your responses. So as you're walking through here, you can just pick and choose, as I mentioned earlier, what you're working for, what you're looking for, and what you'd like to do. So that's an example of the sizing up the situation. If I go back to the courses, I mentioned we have the emergency fund course, financial well-being. We're asking someone to think about what it is that will help them not only meet their financial obligations, but also weather bumps in the road or mishaps that might happen. The housing plan course helps walk someone through the issue of deciding to rent or own, thinking about the cost, thinking about being able to sustain whatever their housing choice is. And again, it might be an instance where immediately I need to have a place that I can afford. Maybe 5 years from now, I'm looking ahead for purchasing a different home in another community. The newest course we have up here is our life events and transitions. This is slightly different. It's designed for the person who's having some major changes in their life. It could be divorce, death in the family, a marriage where they're combining households. It could be children leaving for college. I have 20-somethings in my life, and when they left, wow, I felt like I had a windfall because I'm not paying for their expenses anymore. But in this course, we have checklists to help people through those decisions they need to make right away. This is a little different scenario. And sometimes the decision is to not make a decision, and that's okay. So take a look at that. Again, if you have friends or relatives who might be going through a major transition, see if there's something on there that might be useful to them. In all cases in these courses, we also try to reference the key source of more information. If they need to get professional help, where should they go? How do they vet? So pay attention there. It is never too early for any of us to start thinking about a retirement plan. So this course guides us through the decisions based on where we're at right now. It might be just entering the workforce. How we plan for retirement will be slightly different than if we are in our 40s. And again, if we're in our late 50s looking for a transition, we offer different suggestions. But here again, something to look at to think ahead. I mentioned the transportation plan, and then the money basics will take us back to other courses. We have a new course that should be coming out sometime in January, February at the latest. It's called My Earning Plan. It's wrapped around the career options, but it is managed from the aspect of what is a sustainable wage? What do I need to earn to live the lifestyle, to meet my financial obligations, and maybe even to achieve what I aspire, what my goals are. Then we have people consider what their career interests are, what are the possibilities in their community, might they need to move to a new location, and how does that impact, etc. So watch for that new course. We're really excited about that. I should mention that all these courses were designed with input from instructors, but the primary input were from subject matter experts who work with clients on a regular basis. The earning module, we had people from the local career centers and housing authorities working with us. The retirement plan, we definitely worked with some very enthusiastic financial planners who really wanted to share the basics with the public. So the information provided there is hopefully helpful for the average person and helps them get off into their headed in the right direction. Now there might be some topics that people just are not familiar with or uncomfortable. So we do have a section called Money Basics, and these are more the how-to. How I've seen my teachers use this, we use our program, and it could be someone from another program. If they're going to teach a lesson on investing and they are a little nervous about the questions students might ask, you might want to consider walking through this tutorial. It's Investing 101. It's the down and dirty basics, the terminology, the how-to, the why, some of the theory, and it's designed to help someone gain some confidence as well as knowledge so they're armed with information when they go to their next step. I like to recommend the credit and debt tutorial for my friends who are headed off to buy a car and they're not certain what they can afford. So why not walk through this, see where they're at financially. There are some very questions that they can align to their personal situation. So when they walk into that car dealership, they already know what they can afford to buy. They already know what their credit score is, so they can start some negotiation rather than having the salesperson make the recommendations for them. And if I click on this credit and debt, you'll see it's set up very similarly with an outline of what's in here. Anyone can click on any of the topics to enter the course at any point, or you can start at the top and just work your way down. So in this case of the credit and debt basics, we have issue just about why is this an important topic to get started? How does all of this work? And you can run through those topics here. If someone has some extra information, things you should know, these would be those extra pieces. Not everyone might have an issue with bankruptcy, but if I was, this might be a topic that I would like to read so I know where to go for extra help or counseling. And then as with the other courses, we always end up with some kind of a prompt or a nudge to help people actually use something that they've learned, to use the information to plan their next steps. All of the courses do have some really nice resources. Again, if you're doing this for class, using this topic for a class, take a look at the resources. See if there is something there that you might be able to apply when you're teaching this. The third aspect of the course that I'd like to show you are the tools. So if I just highlight the tools here, We have calculators, a financial identity quiz, some worksheets that were used in different courses, the budget wizard, the life values quiz, and some questions. The life values quiz is something you might consider doing with a significant other, with your spouse, or if you're living with someone. It's a way for you to walk through a questionnaire to identify what is important to you. So then you have something to refer to as you're making money decisions. Those of you who use our high school program know our first lesson is related to values. And we have a teenage version of this where we set up the baseline of what is important to you, what are your values, and then hopefully all your future money decisions consider those values and beliefs. The reason I point this out here is this might not be appropriate for your middle grade students, could be appropriate for your seniors because some of the questions involve adult decisions. So take the quiz, see if it's something you might want to use. The other aspect I like to share, it's a good way to start a conversation with a significant other. Those of you who have students who are headed off to college will most likely have students going through the experience of meeting a new roommate, working out living arrangements, and this is another opportunity for them to talk about shared values and where their differences are and where their similarities are, so we can hopefully avoid some conflicts later. But that's an example of one of the tools that we have on here. I would like to show you the budget wizard because this is, and I know Hillary has not seen this either, it is very new. Our budget wizard is designed, one, to guide people just through the process. How do I set up a budget? But they can also create their own budget. And I'm going to show you one on Cash Course. I have one started. So we have this here where people can build their budget. They can actually enter in their own budget detail and track their budget and keep track of that and save it just for themselves. So those are examples of what's in our smartaboutmoney.org course. And this is SAM for short, so we call it, that's our pet name for this. I do want to show one last piece to segue into our one of our materials that is available to you, and this would be the second resource I'd like to show you. Those of you who have used our 40 money management tips in the past will see that we've updated the document. So within Smart About Money, if you just log in or Google 40 money tips, you'll find this 40 money management tips every college student should know. It is a PDF that you can print out, or if you have your phones handy right now, I would go ahead and pull this up. It's designed for mobile ready, so your students could look at this on a tablet, and it's set up, and this is a really nice piece to share with your junior, senior students, your guidance counselors, and the parents and guardians. The 40 Money Management Tips has topics, just general money management issues, but also topics that are closely related to living on campus, such as handling the cost of living on campus, finding money for school, and let me see if I can make this larger for you. So if we're looking at the finding money for school, you'll see some quick how-tos about handling that FAFSA form, looking at the different types of student loans and what that means. When I taught high school, I was well, they all knew I taught personal finance, so this is a publication that I would give my graduating seniors, and now obviously we can do that as a mobile document. This particular publication is also available in Spanish, so something that you hopefully can share with not only your students, but I would definitely pass this on to your parents. An example here too is within each particular topic, this is the FAFSA, here's the tip, and then we give some ideas of what to do. And in some cases, we actually direct them. Again, I'm going to try to make this larger. When we're talking about the loans, we will actually have hyperlinks to those key resources that they should be going to, rather than paid sources or places that might be trying to scam them. So again, if you Google 40 Money Tips, it should pop up. It is available from the SAM website under Resources. The third resource I'd like to direct you to is our recently updated Cash Course. Now, Cash Course is designed for college-age students. If any of you work with the local colleges in Pennsylvania, you'll find that many of the colleges have this on their financial aid website, or it's tied into their website somewhere. But anyone can actually use this source. You would want to log in as Other Learner. So if you're going to log in, you're an Other Learner. I just want to clarify, school administrators are the college administrators. You'll know who you are, and you probably already have an account. The students would be those college students who are using their college ID. Any high school teacher or high school student should register as an Other Learner. And let me just give you a quick tour here. I'll just get into my account. We have several topics. If you are using this as a supplementary activity with your classes, take a look at the topics. You'll see they all line up with the Jumpstart National Standards. They line up with all of our programs. I know we'll hear from NextGen later, our high school program, and any others. You might find some supplementary articles that are helpful. I clicked Pay for College, and you can see some of the topics here. Predicting costs ties in very well with some of our high school lessons. Finding sources of money. And you can see all of these articles might be something that you could use, particularly for your upper high school students. I would definitely show this to your guidance counselors and your curriculum coordinators, because that might be another resource for them to share. They do have financial tools, and this is where we have another version of that budget wizard. I am going to open my month practice here to give you an idea of what that budget looks like. I can enter my income, so your students can set this up. They can set up their own budget and enter their amounts. Notice they can actually also put in their actuals so they can track their differences. Under expenses, we've pre-populated with some of the common expenses a college student might have. But again, these can be deleted. You can add others and keep track of where we're at on our fixed, our variable, and periodic expenses. What some of the students like is our pie chart at the bottom, where they can get an idea of how much of their money is going where. And it also prompts the conversation. How does that relate to the norm? What are some recommendations? And if we go back to SAM, you'll see that there are recommendations for maximum housing costs, maximum transportation costs, based on some general comments from subject matter experts. So I hope you find this tool useful. I'll just show you one other aspect on Cash Course that you might find interesting, and that is our Ask the Expert piece. We have someone online, and you can see here right now our experts are Ron Smith, who's been in the industry as a financial, working at the university. We have other staff members, and these people change, but when a question is posted, they'll put up an answer, and all of these responses are saved. Again, another opportunity. If you're looking at student loans as a topic, these are questions that have been asked. How do you figure out what you owe on federal tax loans? And there's an answer that our expert provided. So before asking a question, obviously, let's see if there already has been an answer on here. So this is a fairly new tool and that we've had available in the past year. And then the last resource I'd like to show you, and this will segue into Next Gen, our presentation later, and that is MoneyTeach. MoneyTeach.org is a central location. I believe we have 5 providers now who have offered up lessons for you to search through and select in a central place from multiple providers. You can select lessons that you might want to use. And to give you an example here, if I'm going to search for instructional resources, it's pretty intuitive actually. I want to find something on investing. I'm looking at the high school level, so I'll just pick grade 12. I'm looking for an activity, or it could be a lesson. I could leave it blank, and I need something that's 30 to 60 minutes. If I search, you'll see a host of activities. We have PWCs. We have several of our lessons. I'm going to take out the activity here because that'll give us more options. You have a multitude of lessons. We have Take Charge Today represented here, the FDIC's program, and all I have to do then is click on the link. You'll even see in here suggestions from other teachers who have used this particular lesson. So this is the time value of money math provided by Take Charge Today. This lesson, and the comment from Robin here is that this lesson is a great way to infuse math into a non-math classroom, and they use this one with the lesson of time value of money. So they offer feedback in there. I know one of our investing lessons suggested to do a particular lesson before they used a stock market simulation. So this is designed to be similar to that Best Buy. I go to Best Buy so I could touch and feel all the different types of tablets. And once I've decided that maybe I want to use an iPad type tablet, now I'll work with that program. But the idea here is that you have a central location to utilize the programs. The last aspect here is we also have created course guides to help particularly the teacher who just learned that they're teaching this. Don't have a whole lot of time to plan. They're looking for a 1-week unit, a 2-week unit, a 1-quarter unit semester. So I can select I need something for 2 weeks. I could select that particular topic. Notice we also specifically put this in for math if that's something that appeals to you. But I'm looking for grades 7 to 9. And we'll see we have a 2-week course here that's provided, and it's all laid out for you. Here are the lessons. Click, click, click. When you click on these, you will be asked to log in to download. And with one login, you'll have logged in also to that particular provider's website. So you don't have to do it twice. And you have all the current information. So I've shown you 4 resources: moneyteach.org, cashcourse.org, smartaboutmoney.org, and the Smart About Money Management Tips. Thank you for the work that you're doing to advance financial education, because you are changing lives of your students, their families, and your communities. And I will turn this back over to Hillary.
Thank you so much, Susan. If anybody has any questions and wants to post them, we will post those to Susan, or we can get her to follow up. But I really appreciate that, and you're right. The budget tool was new to me as well. I always love seeing what new and great things the organizations that are engaged in financial education are, constantly putting out new tools and new resources. And even myself, who this is what I do full time all the time, has a hard time sometimes keeping up with everything. So Susan, thank you so much for joining us today and for giving that great overview of a lot of the great new new resources coming out from NIFI. By the way, I love that in your bio you indicate how to pronounce NIFI, because that's always a subject of debate sometimes with folks.
Nope, our pleasure. I'll look for
Absolutely.
questions later, and I'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, I turn this over to you.
All right. Thank you so much.